several starts, as a lot of people in life. So actually I started as a nurse, so that was my original training. And then a CEO of a company found I was a good sales rep, so he hired me out from the hospital as a sales rep. And somebody found out I should be a high potential, and they put me in a management, training within a company. Then I ended up in this industry as the EMEA manager for Medtronic for a certain vertical, vascular. And then I come to the family offices. So somebody I worked for, it was a family-owned company, asked me at one point, could you run my family office? And I had no clue what a family office is. Actually, my answer was, I do not know what it is. Is it legal? It was like, that's because family office and money is always like, what do you want me to do? And then I started managing money and investing. And then I got also into contact with a non-for-profit, which is Astia. And Astia looks after companies with at least one woman in the founding team and on the cap table, and supports these companies with access to capital, access to information, access to network. And then I also started as an investor. So because I had these companies, I had this investor background, and then I started investing my own money. So I became an angel investor together with my husband. So this is, you see, there in the whole line, there are several starts. So maybe one of the starts build on each other. And somebody might say this is a restart all the time in different things. So it's in development of sorts, kind of thing. IOME is a family office, but it is an educational family office, and it is a family office with only women principals, and it is in the Middle East. So we do three things the first time. I do not try to keep my principals close to me. I try to educate them, to tell me at one point, I do not need you any longer. I can manage the money myself, or if they are not able to be trained, so be it that they are old, that they're illiterate, that they are lazy, then I set them up with their own family office in a structure that they still have control. So IOME is in that point with disruptive, that it is, the thesis behind is that I want wealthy women to take control of their money, to decide what's happening with their money. And also meant to that they be aware that they give the money, for example, to a banker to invest. So why don't they go to the banker and say, you know what, do not forget it's my money and I care about positive social impact. I care about environment. So if you invest my money, I want you to know what do you do about that. So offer me only ecological investments. Offer me only investments where the companies care about the gender lens. Offer me investments where there is no slavery in the production or no child labor in the production. So just to make them aware, you have the money, just by passing on the money to somebody else to invest, do not give over the responsibility. So stay with your money and care what's happening. So this is IOME. And Astia is disruptive because they really care about the gender lens when it comes to startups. Astia wants to encourage more women to found companies and more teams to consciously think about that a mixed team in genders is much better, much more effective. There's huge data out there than a sole male team and also than a sole female team. So only female team and only male teams are either bad. And to make the mix. So, and again, there's disruption, and also to bring also money to the woman-led companies, because there's a discrepancy. Again, as a lot of the VCs are male, they are a bit reluctant to invest in companies where are women, because they have just the because. So we try to overcome the because, so that it's really at one point people only invest in good companies and forget about is this a woman or a man, but just the best person to give the money to. So the two angles are, from my point of view, disruptive. When I work with the principals, it's often that they need to have a certain, there's a desire to control the money, but then there is a lack of disciplined work ethics to really take action. So because controlling your wealth means you have to work. And sometimes it's the desire, as I said, to control it, and then not really the desire to put the work hours in to control it. So the challenge is really to understand where the people I work with are, and then help them to unleash their potential to get where they want to be. Or if they overestimate themselves, to give them other people to kind of fill up the gaps. So this is the balance. But it's always to bring companies, people, whoever it is, to their best potential. But in a way that they do not get frustrated because they think too much what they can do, or they do too big steps. So sometimes you have just to tone down the size of the steps and saying, you know what, I know you can get there, but not in this pace and not in that time. You have to take a bit more time and to just mature. It's the same like with children. They believe they are grown up with 15 or 20. You know, you are developing all the time. You should never be finished. Should never be a finished product. And this is what I try to give them also a good sense of who they are. If you really want to bring value to VCs, first you have to learn their language. A lot of often the mistake happens that entrepreneurs love their product, they love whatever they do, they are so deep in that they forgot that there are people around who do not understand what they are doing. And often it is, where I get frustrated, you know, an entrepreneur is working for 10 years on a project. And then he thinks, I understand it in 20 minutes. That doesn't happen. So an entrepreneur has to know his or her business, but then they need also to have the ability to break it down or to describe it in a way that people who haven't worked in it for years to understand it. If they don't, they miss a communication opportunity, and investors tend to be lazy as well. So if I do not grab what somebody is doing, I might not ask, give me more information. I might just say, this is too much, I do not understand it. I look for the next entrepreneur who might be able to explain it better to me. So if you want to add value to VCs, really try to learn the language, or try to keep it as simple as possible and make it possible for other people to understand what you are doing, because otherwise people cannot engage with you and help you in what you are doing. So you need to balance it out a bit. So this would be my advice when you want to add value. For IOME, the value is that minimum 50% of the wealth is in the hands of the woman. Globally, I always say it's more than 50% because most of the households, the money is controlled by the woman. So I would say it's 80%. But they do not transport their values to the point where the money is really invested. And this is what we work on IOME. We work on it on a small scale, so we are not huge. So I have only 5 principles, and this is more than I can handle at a time. But I think it's a movement that really to encourage women and not just women, every wealth owner should think through what is happening with my money. What are people doing with my money? Are they investing it in weapons or drugs, or do I know what's happening with my money? And the same is with Astia. It's that you are the connecting link between people who want to invest and people who have money, to people who desire to get the money also in companies where are women founders, and not just in companies where are male founders. So it's really kind of closing the gaps. So this is, I think, is the underlying thesis to make this happen.